Commander Zeth stood in front of the big screen on his ship and looked at the empty space ahead. His forearms were crossed as he studied the dark area that no one was allowed to enter. The Sol system was marked as dangerous by every species. In the galaxy, 300 years had passed since anyone tried to talk to the humans who lived there. Those who went in never came back out. The Vorthan Empire had sent ships before. The first group went to make friends with the humans and disappeared completely. The second team found only broken metal pieces floating in space and one scary message. That said the humans made them fight each other for fun. After that, the Galactic Council made a rule that no one could go near the yellow star where humans lived. Zeth remembered the stories his grandfather told him about humans. They were said to be crazy fighters who loved war more than anything. Else, some aliens believed humans could not die in battle. Others said they ate their enemies after winning fights. The worst stories claimed humans could make other species turn against their own families just by talking to them. "Sir, we are getting close to the warning zone," said his pilot, a young Vorthan named Crix. The pilot's voice shook a little as he spoke. Everyone knew what happened to ships that went too close to human space. "Keep going," Zeth ordered. "We have orders from the High Command." Far away from Zeth's ship, Captain Lisa Monroe sat in her chair on the human vessel Independence. Her ship was hidden in an asteroid field at the edge of their solar system. The aliens could not see her because humans had built amazing technology that made their ships invisible. Lisa and her crew of 47 people had been watching the border for months, waiting for aliens to try sneaking into human territory. "Captain, I see another probe coming our way," said Lieutenant Jake Phillips. He was looking at his computer screen that showed everything moving in space around them. "It looks like a Kari design trying to slip past our sensors." Lisa smiled, but not in a happy way. The aliens never learned their lesson. Humans had become very good at making visitors disappear without looking like they were being mean. The galaxy was scared of humans, and humans liked it that way because fear kept them safe. "What should we do with this one?" asked Jake. "Same as always," Lisa said. "Make it vanish quietly. Leave some broken pieces behind so they think something bad happened but do not know what." The Independence moved through the asteroids like a ghost. Its engines made no sound that alien sensors could hear. Lisa had been doing this job for 5 years and had stopped dozens of alien ships from entering human space. Some were explorers looking for new worlds. Others were traders who wanted to steal human technology. A few were spies trying to learn human secrets. None of them ever made it home to tell. What they found, the human ship got close to the alien probe without being seen. Jake used a special weapon that shut down the probe's power systems. Then they used a tractor beam to pull the small ship into their cargo bay. Inside the probe, they would find 1 or 2 aliens who thought they were very clever. "Bring them to the questioning room," Lisa told her security team. "Be gentle, but make sure they understand we are dangerous." This was the part Lisa did not like but knew was necessary. The aliens had to go back to their people with a story that would keep others away. Humans had learned that the best way to stay safe was to make everyone else too scared to bother them. The Kari pilot was a small creature with 6 legs and big eyes. When he woke up in the questioning room, he found himself sitting across from a human female who looked at him without any emotion on her face. "You entered restricted space," Lisa said in the Kari language. Humans had learned to speak many alien languages over the years. "Why are you here?" The pilot's 6 eyes went wide with fear. He had heard stories about human interrogation techniques. Some said humans could read minds. Others claimed they could make prisoners feel pain without touching them. "I was just exploring," the pilot said, his voice very quiet. "I did not mean any harm." "Exploring is not allowed here," Lisa replied. "Now you must pay the price." What happened next was something humans had practiced many times. They did not hurt the alien, but they made him think terrible things were happening to him. Using advanced technology and psychological tricks, they created experiences that felt real but were not. The pilot would remember being tortured and seeing horrible things, even though none of it actually happened. After 6 hours, they put the pilot back in his probe and pushed it out of human space. His ship's computer would show that he had been missing for 3 days, not 6 hours. The pilot would wake up with fuzzy memories of pain and fear. He would tell his people that humans were monsters who should never be approached. "Another one sent home with the right message," Jake said as they watched the probe fly away. "Good," Lisa replied. "The more scared they are, the safer we stay." Back on the Vorthan ship, Commander Zeth received a message from his homeworld. The ferry pilot had returned from his mission to human space and was in a medical facility. The pilot kept talking about creatures that looked like demons and could cause pain just by looking at someone. He begged his doctors not to send him back to human territory. "Sir, should we continue toward the Sol system?" asked Grix. Zeth looked at the empty space ahead and thought about the message from the Kali pilot. Every species in the galaxy had similar stories about humans. No one knew exactly what humans could do, but everyone agreed that they were the most dangerous creatures in known space. "Yes," Zeth said finally, "we go forward. Our people need answers about the new threat coming from outside our galaxy. If, humans are still alive, they might be our only hope." The Vorthan ship moved slowly toward the invisible line that marked the beginning of human space, carrying with it the hopes and fears of an entire galaxy that had run out of other options. Dr. Elena Rodriguez sat deep underground on Luna Base, surrounded by computer screens that showed information from across the galaxy. She spent her days listening to alien conversations that they thought were private. Humans had been secretly watching and hearing everything other species said to each other for over 200 years. They had broken the codes that aliens used to hide their messages and had built hidden listening posts throughout known space. The Kthari pilot is still in the hospital, Elena told Director Carl Bennett during their morning meeting. "He keeps talking about shadow creatures that can walk through walls and machines that read thoughts. His doctors think he might never be the same." Carl nodded as he read the report on his tablet. At 62 years old, he had spent most of his life managing humanity's biggest secret. The galaxy thought humans were violent monsters, but the truth was more complicated. Humans were not evil, but they were not innocent either. They had learned to use fear as a weapon because it worked better than real weapons. "What about the mining guilds?" Carl asked. "Are they still pushing for access to our asteroid fields?" "Yes," Elena replied. "They want the rare metals in our outer system. Their technology needs materials that are hard to find in other places. The Kthari High Command is getting a lot of pressure from their business leaders." Elena pulled up a map of the galaxy on the big screen. Red dots showed where alien ships had tried to enter human space in the past year. Most attempts came from species that needed resources or technology that humans were believed to have. All of these ships had been turned away or had disappeared, adding to the mystery that surrounded humanity. "The Vorthan Empire is planning something big," Elena continued. "Our listening post picked up encrypted messages between their military leaders. They are building a special diplomatic ship." Carl looked worried. Diplomatic contact was always risky. If aliens came to talk instead of spy or steal, humans had to be more careful about how they handled the situation. They could not just make diplomats disappear without causing bigger problems. Meanwhile, on a space station called Kepler Station at the edge of known space, Senior Analyst Grix stared at readings from the latest probe sent toward human territory. The electromagnetic signals made no sense to him. The energy patterns suggested a civilization that could build things on the scale of entire star systems, but human space remained completely quiet. "Sir," his assistant Venth approached carefully. Venth was young and had only been working on alien analysis for 2 years. "The probe has stopped sending signals. Just like all the others." Grix's tentacles moved in patterns that showed frustration. Every species in the galaxy had theories about what happened to ships that went into human space. Some believed humans had built weapons that could destroy anything instantly. Others thought humans had learned to control space and time itself. The most frightening idea was that humans were still alive and watching everything that happened in the galaxy. "How many probes have we lost now?" Grix asked. 47 in the past 5 years, Venth replied. Every major species has tried to gather information about humans. None have succeeded. On Earth, in a secret facility built under the Rocky Mountains, General Pete Sullivan reviewed reports from human scout ships positioned throughout the galaxy. These ships were invisible to alien sensors and had been watching alien civilizations for decades. Humans knew about every war, every trade agreement, and every scientific discovery made by other species. The Andromedans are getting closer, Pete told his staff during the daily briefing. Our deep space monitors detected their scout ships 3 systems closer than last week. The Andromedans were not from the Milky Way galaxy. They had come from somewhere far away and had been destroying everything in their path. 3 alien civilizations had already been completely wiped out. The surviving species were becoming desperate and scared. How long before they reached the core worlds? Asked Colonel Mary Stevens, Pete's second in command. 6 months, maybe 7. Pete replied. The alien military forces cannot stop them. Their technology is too advanced. Back on Luna Base, Elena received a priority message from one of their spy networks. The content made her call Director Bennett immediately. Carl, you need to see this, she said when he answered his communicator. The Vorthan Empire is not just planning diplomatic contact. They want to warn us about the Andromedans. Carl felt his stomach drop. For 300 years, humans had stayed hidden and safe, while the rest of the galaxy fought wars and dealt with problems. Now it seemed like a threat big enough to destroy everyone was coming, and the aliens wanted human help. Do they know about our real capabilities? Carl asked. No, Elena said. They still think we are dangerous primitives who might have some useful weapons. They have no idea how advanced we really are. The truth was that humans had used their centuries of isolation wisely. While other species fought each other and wasted resources on wars, humans had focused on science and technology. They had built machines that could think faster than any biological brain. They had learned to manipulate matter at the atomic level. They had even begun to understand how space and time worked at the deepest levels, but all of this advancement was hidden. Human cities were built underground or inside asteroids where alien sensors could not see them. Human ships used technology that made them invisible and silent. Human communications were sent through channels that other species did not even know existed. On the monitoring station, Grix received a new message from his superiors. The High Command wanted him to prepare a detailed report about human military capabilities. They needed to know if humans could help fight the Andromedans or if humans would just be another target for the invaders. What should I tell them? Venth asked after reading the message. The truth, Grix replied. We know almost nothing about humans, except that ships which go into their territory do not come back. We do not know if they are advanced or primitive, friendly or hostile, alive or extinct. But sir, the High Command needs answers. Then maybe it is time someone went to human space and demanded to speak with them directly, Grix said. If humans are still alive, they need to know what is coming. If they are dead, we need to know that too. Deep in the Luna Base Communications Center, Elena picked up the conversation between Grix and Venth through one of their hidden listening devices. She immediately sent the information to Carl and Pete. They are definitely planning a diplomatic mission, she reported. And they are scared enough to risk direct contact. Carl sat in his office and thought about the decision that was coming. For 3 centuries, humans had been the galaxy's mysterious threat. They had used fear and legend to keep themselves safe while they grew stronger in secret. Now, the galaxy was facing a real threat, and humans had to decide whether to help or stay hidden. Schedule a meeting with the Global Security Council? Carl told Elena. It is time to discuss whether we reveal ourselves to save a galaxy that fears us. The choice would not be easy, but it was coming whether humans were ready or not. Admiral Nancy Clark was reviewing fleet positions in her command center on Titan when the encrypted message arrived. She read it twice before calling her chief of staff to her office. The message was short but very important, a Vorthan diplomatic. Vessel was asking for permission to enter human space under a flag of peace. It was the first official contact request in over 200 years. "They are either very brave or very stupid," said General Pete Sullivan when he read the message. "What has changed to make them want to try again?" The answer came from their intelligence network spread throughout the galaxy. Every alien species was talking about the same thing, an invasion force from outside their galaxy that had already destroyed 3 civilizations. The surviving species were desperate enough to seek help from the mysterious humans they had feared for centuries. "The Andromedans wiped out the Zilani Empire last week," Nancy said, pointing to a star map on her wall. 2 billion people gone. In 3 days, the aliens are running out of options. Pete nodded grimly. The reports from their spy networks painted a picture of complete destruction. The Andromedans did not just conquer worlds. They consumed everything useful and left behind empty space. Their technology was unlike anything seen in the Milky Way galaxy. "So what do we tell the Vorthons?" Pete asked. "We let them come," Nancy decided. "But we do it our way." Commander Zeth piloted his small diplomatic ship toward the Sol system boundary with 6 volunteers from his crew. They had spent weeks preparing for this mission, studying every story and legend about humans. The ship carried gifts, diplomatic protocols, and most importantly, proof of the approaching Andromedan threat. "Sir, we are approaching the restricted zone," said his communications officer, Lieutenant Nix. Her voice was steady, but Zeth could see fear in her eyes. "I'll stop," Zeth ordered. "Send the message we prepared." The message was broadcast on all frequencies in several languages. "This is Commander Zeth of the Vorthon Diplomatic Corps. We request peaceful contact with human representatives. We bring urgent information about a threat to all life in this galaxy." For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then, without warning, everything went wrong. Their engines stopped working. The lights went out, life support systems failed one by one. The ship's computer showed error messages in languages that did not exist. Outside the windows, space itself seemed to bend and twist in impossible ways. "What is happening?" Nix shouted. But her voice sounded strange, like it was coming from very far away. Zeth tried to answer, but found he could not speak. Reality around them was changing in ways that hurt to think about. Colors that had no names appeared and disappeared. Sounds that could not exist filled the air. Time moved backward and forward at the same time. Then, suddenly, they were somewhere else entirely. Captain Rick Barnes welcomed the alien delegation aboard the UES Defender, humanity's first visible vessel in centuries. His crew had transported the aliens through a carefully controlled process designed to be just unsettling enough to maintain the proper atmosphere of fear and respect. "Welcome to human space," Barnes said calmly, studying the 4 armed creatures in front of him. "We have been expecting you." The Vorthons found themselves in a room that seemed to be made of light and shadow. The walls showed images of stars and planets, but the images moved in ways that made no sense. The humans standing before them looked normal, but there was something about their eyes that suggested they knew things that no one should know. "How did we get here?" Commander Zeth asked. His voice worked again, but he felt like he was speaking in a dream. "You crossed our border," Barnes replied. "We brought you here to talk safely. Where is here?" Lieutenant Nix asked, looking around. "At the impossible room. You are on our ship," Barnes said. "Your vessel is safe, but you are our guest now." The truth was more complicated. The UES Defender was not really a ship in the traditional sense. It was a mobile facility that existed partially outside normal spacetime. Humans had built it using principles of physics that other species had not discovered yet. The aliens were still technically on their own ship, but they were also somewhere else entirely. Dr. Kevin O'Neill entered the room carrying a tablet full of information. As the ship's science officer, his job was to explain enough about human capabilities to impress the aliens without revealing too many secrets. "Commander Zeth," Kevin said, speaking perfect Vorthon, "we know why you are here. The Andromedans have been destroying civilizations on the rim of the galaxy. You want our help?" Zeth's 4 eyes went wide. "How do you know about the Andromedans? Your people have been silent for decades." "We watch," Barnes said simply. We listen. We know. Everything that happens in this galaxy. That was not quite true, but it was close enough. Human spy networks and monitoring systems gave them information about almost every important event in known space. They had been tracking the Andromedan invasion since it began. Can you help us? Zeth asked. Your people are feared throughout the galaxy. If humans joined the fight against the Andromedans, other species might have hope. Barnes and Kevin exchanged looks. This was the moment they had been preparing for. The decision to reveal human capabilities was not theirs to make, but they could. Begin the process. Follow us, Barnes said. There are things you need to see. They led the Vorthans through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The ship was bigger inside than outside, which should have been impossible. The walls showed views of human colonies that the aliens had never suspected existed. Cities built inside asteroids, massive construction projects in deep space. Fleets of ships that moved between dimensions. This is impossible, Nix whispered. How many humans are there? More than you think, Kevin replied. We have been busy while the galaxy thought we were extinct. They stopped at an observation deck that looked out into space. But it was not the space around the Sol system. The view showed dozens of star systems, all connected by streams of energy that pulsed with power. This is human space, Barnes explained. Not just the Sol system. We have been expanding for centuries, but we have hidden our growth. Commander Zeth felt his understanding of the universe shift. If this was real, then humans were not the primitive fighters that legends described. They were an advanced civilization that had been pretending to be something else. Why hide? He asked. With this technology, you could rule the galaxy. Rule is not the same as protect, Barnes said. We learned long ago that the galaxy is safer when it fears us than when it tries to conquer us. They spent the next several hours showing the Vorthans carefully selected examples of human technology. Ships that could cross the galaxy in days. Weapons that could destroy planets without leaving debris. Defensive systems that could hide entire star systems from detection. The Andromedans are powerful, Kevin admitted. But they have never faced anything like us? Will you help? Zeth asked, hope growing in his voice. That decision is not ours to make, Barnes replied. But we will take your request to those who can decide. As the Vorthans were transported back to their ship, they carried with them images and memories that would change how the galaxy saw humanity. They had proof that humans were not extinct. They had seen evidence of technology beyond anything in known space. Most importantly, they had hope that the Andromedan invasion could be stopped. Commander Zeth sat in his captain's chair. As his ship moved away from human space, his mind still trying to process what he had experienced. The legends about humans were wrong in some ways and terrifyingly accurate in others. Humans were not the primitive monsters that stories described. They were something much more dangerous. An advanced civilization that had spent centuries preparing for exactly this kind of threat. The question now was whether they would choose to help or watch the galaxy burn from their hidden fortress among the stars. The meeting took place on Ceres Station, a facility that Commander Zeth discovered was far more advanced than anything in his galaxy. When his ship docked with the station, he saw technology that seemed to bend the rules of physics. The walls were made of materials that looked like solid light. Gravity worked differently in different rooms. Some corridors seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions. Director Sarah Walsh led the human delegation as they walked through halls that changed shape around them. She had been chosen to speak with the aliens because of her skill at explaining complex ideas in simple terms. The Vorthans needed to understand humanity's true nature, but they also needed to stay calm enough to listen. We are not the monsters. You think we are? Sarah began, as they sat down in a conference room that overlooked the asteroid belt. But we are not helpless either. We learned long ago that mystery is a better weapon than any missile. Commander Zeth listened carefully as she spoke. His 4 arms remained crossed, a sign of nervousness among his people. Lieutenant Nix sat beside him, taking notes on a device that seemed primitive compared to the human technology around them. Dr. Kevin O'Neill presented the evidence of humanity's true capabilities on screens that appeared in the air without any visible projectors. Images showed human colonies spread across dozens of star systems. Ships that could travel faster than light in ways that alien science said was impossible. Weapons that could destroy moons without creating explosions. "Your people tell stories about us," Sarah continued, watching as Zeth's eyes grew wider with each revelation. "They say we are demons who torture prisoners and turn species against each other. They say we consume worlds and leave only death behind. Some of that is based on unfortunate misunderstandings from our early contacts. The first contact disasters had happened 300 years ago, when humanity was still learning how to deal with alien species. Cultural differences had led to violence. Misunderstandings about human behavior had created fear. Rather than try to fix these problems, humans had decided to use the fear as protection. You have been manipulating the disappearances," Zeth said, his voice quiet with realization. "Staging them." Lieutenant Amy Carter, the station's security chief, nodded from her position near the door. She was a small woman, but something about her presence made the aliens nervous. "We could not risk another war with the galaxy. Too many species, too much firepower. But we could make sure nobody wanted to visit us. Fear keeps the peace." Amy explained how human ships would intercept alien vessels at the border of their territory. Using advanced technology and psychological techniques, they would create experiences that felt real but were not. Aliens would remember being captured and tortured, even though they had never been harmed. They would return to their people with stories of human cruelty that were completely false but felt completely true. "The probe pilots, the explorers, the spies," Sarah said. "We gave them all memories of things that never happened. Their stories kept other species away from our space." Dr. O'Neill pulled up recordings of alien communications from the past century. The Vorthans listened to their own people discussing humanity in fearful whispers. They heard Theri pilots begging not to be sent near human space. They listened to Zilani military leaders planning invasion routes that carefully avoided the Sol system. "Every species in the galaxy has been afraid of us," Kevin said. "But the fear was based on lies we told through the minds of people we never actually hurt. The truth was both less and more terrifying than the legends. Humanity had become the galaxy's shadow government, influencing events from behind their wall of mystery while developing the strength to protect themselves from any threat." "But why reveal this now?" Zeth asked. "You could have let us believe the lies forever." "Because the Andromedans are real," Sarah replied, her voice becoming serious. "And they are unlike anything this galaxy has ever faced." She showed them footage captured by human deep space monitors. The images were difficult to watch. Andromedan ships that looked like living metal consuming entire planets. Weapons that turned stars into black holes. Technology that seemed to violate the basic laws of physics that govern the universe. "They have destroyed 3 major civilizations," Amy added. "The Outer Rim species barely had time to send distress signals before they were wiped out. The Andromedans do not conquer. They consume everything and leave nothing behind." Lieutenant Nix spoke for the first time since entering the room. "How do you know so much about them?" "Have you fought them before?" "No," Kevin answered. "But we have been watching them since they entered our galaxy. We have spy probes that can observe from dimensions the Andromedans cannot detect. The humans showed their guests data that would have taken alien scientists years to gather. Energy, readings from Andromedan weapons, analysis of their ship construction materials, behavioral patterns that suggested how their command structure worked." "We know their weaknesses," Sarah said. "And we know how to exploit them. Then you can stop them?" Zeth asked, hope filling his voice. "We can," Sarah confirmed. "But it would mean revealing ourselves to the entire galaxy. Once we show our true capabilities, we can never go back to hiding." The weight of that statement settled over the room. For 3 centuries, humanity had been safe behind their wall of manufactured fear. If they emerged to fight the Andromedans, every species in the galaxy would know the truth about human technology and power. What would happen after the Andromedans are defeated? Nix asked. Unknown, Amy admitted. Some species might want to be our allies. Others might fear us even more than they do now. There could be wars as various empires try to claim human technology. Or, Sarah added, there could be peace. Real peace, based on understanding instead of fear. Commander Zeth stood and walked to the window that looked out at the asteroid belt. In the distance, he could see human ships moving between the rocks with impossible grace. Each vessel represented technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. My people are dying, he said quietly. The Andromedans will reach our core worlds in less than 6 months. If humanity does not help, my entire species will be extinct by the end of the year. We know, Sarah said gently. That is why we are having this conversation. What do you need from us? Zeth asked, turning back to face the humans. Nothing, Kevin replied. This is our decision to make. But if we choose to help, we will need the galaxy to trust us. That means species like yours will have to convince others that we are not the monsters from their legends. That will not be easy, Nick said. The fear of humans runs deep in our cultures. Fear that we created, Amy pointed out, so we have a responsibility to help fix it. Sarah stood and moved to stand beside Zeth at the window. Together, they watched human ships that moved like living things through the asteroid field. The choice is not whether to fight the Andromedans, she said. We will fight them regardless, because they threaten our safety too. The choice is whether to do it in secret or in the open. What is the difference? Zeth asked. If we fight in secret, we might win, but the galaxy will never know who saved them, Sarah explained. If we fight openly, everyone will see what humanity is really capable of. That knowledge will change everything. The meeting continued for several more hours as the humans explained their technology and capabilities in greater detail. They showed the Vorthans weapons that could crack planets and shields that could protect entire star systems. They demonstrated faster-than-light travel that made alien ships look like they were standing still. By the end of the day, Commander Zeth understood that humanity was not just advanced. They were so far beyond other species that the comparison was almost meaningless. As the Vorthans prepared to return to their ship, Sarah made one final statement that would echo in their minds for days to come. We spent 300 years learning how to hide from the galaxy, she said. Now we have to decide if it is time to teach the galaxy how to survive. President Linda Thompson stood in the hidden chambers beneath Geneva, looking at faces of the most powerful people on Earth. The Global Security Council had been meeting for 3 days, debating a decision that would change humanity's place in the universe forever. News of the Andromedan invasion had reached every corner of human space, and time was running out. The latest reports show they will reach the Vorthan core worlds in 4 months, said Admiral Nancy Clark, pointing to a holographic star map. After that, they will have a clear path to the center of the galaxy. The red dots on the map showed Andromedan advance positions. Each dot represented the complete destruction of everything in that star system. No planets remained. No life survived. Even the stars themselves were being harvested for energy. We can stop them, Admiral Clark continued. But it will require full disclosure of our capabilities. Once we show ourselves, there is no going back to the shadows. General Pete Sullivan stood at the other end of the table, his face showing the weight of command. He had spent his entire career preparing for threats that might never come. Now, the biggest threat in galactic history was approaching, and humanity had the power to stop it. The military assessment is clear, Pete said, his voice steady and professional. We have the technology to defeat the Andromedans. Our weapons are superior. Our defenses are stronger. Our ships are faster. But victory will require deploying assets that we have kept hidden for centuries. The room fell silent as the leaders considered the implications. Humanity had spent 300 years building an advanced civilization in secret. They had developed technology that seemed like magic to other species. They had created weapons that could reshape reality itself, but they had also created safety through fear and mystery. The galaxy left humans alone because they were afraid of what might happen if they did not. That protection would disappear. The moment humanity revealed its true capabilities, Commander Zeth waited nervously in his quarters aboard Ceres Station, knowing that the fate of his species and dozens of others hung in the balance. The Vorthans had sent desperate messages to their homeworld, but communications would take weeks to reach Vorthan space. By then, the Andromedans might have already arrived. He had seen enough of human technology to know that they could win the war, ships that moved faster than thought, weapons that could destroy entire fleets with single shots, defenses that could hide solar systems from detection. But he also understood that humans valued their privacy and safety above everything else. "Sir," Lieutenant Nick said, entering his quarters with a worried expression, "our long-range sensors detecting movement in the outer systems. The Andromedans are ahead of schedule." Zeth felt his blood turn cold. If the invaders were moving faster than expected, there might not be time for humanity to make a decision. The galaxy could be conquered before humans finished debating whether to help. Back on Earth, the decision came from an unexpected source. Colonel Mark Johnson, commander of the Mars Defense Force, stood to address the Global Security Council. He was the grandson of one of the original diplomats who had disappeared during first contact 3 centuries ago. "My grandfather died because we did not know how to talk to aliens without fighting them," Mark said, his voice carrying the weight of family history. "We spent 300 years learning how to communicate, how to understand other species, how to live in a galaxy full of different kinds of life." President Thompson listened carefully. Mark was known for his thoughtful approach to complex problems. His units had been responsible for some of the most successful alien intercept operations. "In recent years, we have become experts at making other species fear us," Mark continued. "But fear is not the same as respect. Fear is not the same as friendship. Fear is not the same as the kind of cooperation we will need to build a better galaxy." "What are you suggesting?" asked Director Carl Bennett, who had spent decades managing humanity's image in the galaxy. "I am suggesting that maybe it is time to try again," Mark replied. "We know more now than we did 300 years ago. We understand alien psychology, we speak their languages. We know their cultures. Maybe we can do better this time." General Sullivan frowned. "The risks are enormous. If we reveal ourselves and then lose the war against the Andromedans, we will have given up our safety for nothing. If we do not reveal ourselves and the Andromedans win anyway, we will be alone in a dead galaxy," Mark countered. "Our safety will not matter if there is nothing left to be safe from." The debate continued for hours, but the arguments were becoming clearer. Humanity could remain hidden and safe, but that safety would mean nothing if the Andromedans destroyed all other life in the galaxy. Or they could take the risk of revealing themselves and fighting openly, knowing that victory would change everything. Admiral Clark presented the final military analysis. "Our simulations show a 93% chance of victory if we deploy our full capabilities. The Andromedans are powerful, but their technology is not as advanced as ours in key areas." "And if we lose?" President Thompson asked. "If we lose, it will not matter whether we stayed hidden or not," Admiral Clark replied. "The Andromedans do not take prisoners. They do not negotiate. They consume everything." The vote was called at midnight Geneva time. One by one, the leaders of humanity's hidden government made their choice. The decision was unanimous. Captain Rick Barnes received the authorization codes while his ship patrolled the edge of human space. The message was brief but carried the weight of 3 centuries of careful planning. Operation Revelation is authorized. All assets are released for combat deployment. Barnes opened communications with Commander Zeth aboard Ceres Station as humanity's massive defense fleet began to decloak throughout the Sol system. Hundreds of ships appeared from the shadows where they had waited for generations. Each vessel incorporated technology that would revolutionize Galactic civilization, stealth cruisers that could phase between dimensions became visible in normal space. Battleships the size of moons powered up weapons that drew energy from parallel universes. Carriers launched fighter squadrons that moved faster than light without using traditional engines. Commander Zeth, Barnes said formally, his image appearing on screens throughout the Vorthan diplomatic vessel. On behalf of humanity, we accept your request for alliance. It is time to remind the universe why no one dares enter human territory. The transformation was breathtaking to watch. What had appeared to be empty space around the Sol system suddenly filled with ships, stations, and structures that defied alien understanding of physics. Orbital platforms that had been invisible revealed themselves to be massive industrial complexes. Hidden bases on asteroids opened like flowers to release swarms of combat vehicles. And this time, Barnes continued, we are bringing friends. As the first human fleet in 3 centuries prepared to leave Sol system, every species in the galaxy received the same message broadcast on all frequencies. This is humanity. We are coming to help. Do not be afraid. The message was repeated in every known alien language, but it was the images that accompanied it that truly shocked the galaxy. Video feeds showed human ships moving in formations that covered light years. Weapons tests demonstrated the power to crack moons with pinpoint accuracy. Defensive demonstrations showed shields that could stop anything the Andromedans had used against other species. Commander Zeth stood on the observation deck of Ceres Station, watching the human fleet assemble for departure. Ships that looked like living metal joined formations with vessels that seemed to be made of crystallized light. The diversity of designs suggested centuries of technological development that had never slowed down. They really have been preparing for this, Lieutenant Nick said, standing beside him. For 300 years, Zeth agreed. While the rest of the galaxy fought wars and wasted resources on conflicts, humans were building this. The largest ship in the fleet was something that hurt to look at directly. Its hull seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions, and its engines drew power from sources that alien science could not identify. This was humanity's flagship, a vessel that represented the pinnacle of their technological achievement. As the fleet began to move toward the galaxy's core, reports started coming in from species throughout known space. The Kthari High Command announced their full support for the human alliance. The Zelani remnants pledged their remaining ships to the cause. Even species that had never contacted humans before sent messages of gratitude and offers of assistance. The Andromedans had been destroying civilizations for months, advancing through space like a plague that consumed everything in its path. They had grown confident in their superiority, crushing every defense that the galaxy could mount against them, but they had never faced humanity. The human fleet moved through space like a force of nature, covering distances in hours that should have taken weeks. Their ships used technologies that bent space-time itself, allowing them to appear anywhere in the galaxy almost instantly. When the first human vessels reached the front lines of the war, the tide of battle changed immediately. Andromedan ships that had been unstoppable found themselves outgunned and outmaneuvered by opponents they had not expected to face.